Thank you for joining the UK India Trade Portal Market Entry Insights interview. My guest today is Mike Wilson, who is the CEO of Go Exporting here in the UK. And Mike has over 25 plus years of experience in sales and marketing, particularly in the area of international trade. He has worked for startups, he has worked for SMEs, and he has worked for multinationals. And today, Mike is going to tell us how Mike and his team can enable British companies to enter the complex yet dynamic Indian market. So, thank you, Mike, for joining us. And I'm sure your insights will prove to be invaluable to our viewers.
Thank you. Thanks for the invite, Belinda. I look forward to the discussion.
So, the Secretary of State for International Trade, Liz Truss, recently visited India, and she met her counterpart, Mr. Piyush Goyal, the Minister of Commerce and Industry for India. And both sides agreed to formulate an enhanced trade partnership. Why do you think now, more so than ever, British companies should be looking beyond Europe?
I think now is the ideal time for them. I mean, Brexit has brought about profound changes on the way we do business internationally or with Europe. You know, it's reckoned that there are 135,000 UK businesses that have never dealt outside of the EU before. They weren't aware of things like customs declarations, rules of origin, duties, and all the complications that everyone else is aware of when you're dealing, you know, all around the world. So those companies have had to quickly learn the processes and the procedures that they need to go through, and that means that now, you know, selling to France is the same as selling in many ways to India. It's the same process that they have to go to. So why limit yourself just to one area? You know, there was a big when we joined the common market in 1974. There was a big increase in sales exports to the EU, but because it was easy, it was a common market, the single market. You know, the no duties, no VAT. It was an easy to trade. But now it's not so easy, and so I think that we are advising clients that now you have to look at what are the best opportunities for your business, and that may not necessarily be in Europe anymore. It could well be, because, you know, it's still our closest neighbor, and, you know, 16.4% of the world GDP, something like that. So it could well be, you know, there's still the right place to go, but don't restrict yourself to that and look for other areas. So, you know, there's a whole world of opportunities out there, of which India is obviously one of them. It's a huge potential market. It's a growing market, fastly growing market, with a quickly developing middle class that have got, you know, money to spend and are looking for opportunities there. So, and of course there's the historical links with the UK from a business point of view, as well as you know, sort of cultural points of view. So I think you know, and on the whole, I think the UK products are probably viewed quite favourably there. So it's an area which many companies have not looked at previously, but I think they should. And definitely that's what we're advising clients, that this is a huge market there. That's a lot of potential for to look at. It has its complications, of course, in dealing there and so far away, but we need to take that into account. But that is definitely, there's an opportunity.
So there's a lot of emphasis on bilateral investment, and both Britain and India are inviting companies from either side to come and set up. But there are lots of British companies who want to test the waters and export first. What would you say are the steps a British company should take when starting to export to India?
And we always advise clients, whether it's India to start with or anywhere else, but you should follow the sort of same process, is to assess and compare markets very carefully. Don't just jump in with 2 feet and think, you know, it's going to be easy, I'm just going to go there, or nowadays we're going to do a Zoom call and we'll pick up a distributor. It's not that easy. It's not that easy to find the right people, and you need to analyze the market and make sure it is right for you. A UK company needs to make sure that, you know, it's the right place to go. It's obviously the size of the market is probably pretty big, but you need to see it's the size for your particular product, the growth rate in your particular product, and then look at the barriers to entry, which are surely there, if there are any duties or quotas, licenses or approvals that might be needed, the logistical challenges of getting the product to particular, you know, into India and then around India, for example. Where do you need the product to be? And key is also looking at what we call the product adaptation to the market. So how well is your product going to be accepted in India? Is it the kind of product that people are looking for? And that's something you really need to assess and get some feedback on before you start spending a lot of money and heading off, you know, and trying to conquer the market. Is it the right product for India? Also, look at the competition. What's the local competition like? Local competition will, you know, probably obviously have benefits in terms of cost, certainly in terms of logistics and so on. So what are the benefits of your product over the competition? I know we'll look at that in a moment a bit more. The other barriers to entry are potential language issues, or in some parts currency. Yeah, and you know, when we're advising clients on looking at new markets post Brexit, we tell them to take a very scientific approach to the analysis. We have certain tools that they can use, so you can we analyze all of these barriers to entry against the potential and rate them and give them a weighting so that we can actually assess and compare countries to say, okay, this country is going to be better for us compared to another country. So we can score and rank those countries, and that's something which, again, people, you know, companies have got to do very carefully if you're going anywhere, because it does cost money and it takes time to get into a market. So you've got to then match the company's ambitions to its resources. So there's no point in saying, okay, I'm going to go to 100 countries, or I'm going to go all the way to India, if they've never actually sold to Ireland, or they've never been, you know, never been anywhere else, and they haven't got any people that have experience in doing that. So you have to match those, you know, resources, and you know, someone who's got some experience in dealing in the Indian market, whether that's someone internally or someone that they can contract with that can give them that support. And then, of course, they've got to decide on what's going to be the best route to market. Is that going to be through a distributor, through a wholesaler, through having making some inward investments, so having a distributor, a subsidiary, or a joint venture, something like that? What's going to be the best way? Is it a kind of product that can be done through e-commerce, through sort of, you know, online platforms, that kind of thing? So really looking at all of the different options and weighing everything up together and deciding if India is the right place to be looking at. You know, so size of market is only one thing. There are so many other factors to look at. And what we then also, you know, specifically say to clients is focus. You know, we've talked about matching resources to their ambition. So, but focusing on one area, or the area that can do, putting your resources into that. You know, and not doing something which I hate, which we call touch and go selling, where someone, you know, you think, okay, I'm going to go to India, I'm going to start selling there. So you make a few approaches, you do a little bit, and then something happens at home in your market there, and you come back and you forget about that market for 2 or 3 months, and then that settles down, so you go back again. And lo and behold, people have forgotten about you, or they're losing trust in your business and your commitment to the market. So that's why I would say you've got to focus, you've got to make it a priority and really commit to the market. And that's why we do this very scientific analysis to make sure that it is the right move for clients.
British firms are renowned globally for their technological prowess. Which sectors, in your view, provide huge opportunities for British firms in India?
Yeah, I think for UK companies coming to India, they've also got to have something a little bit unique to sell. So it needs to be a product or a technology which is, you know, is not available there now, or that they're offering a significant advancement in the technology, or in quality, or it's a desirable brand, for example. I think those are some of the important areas that people look at. There's no point trying to sell something which can be found locally, you know, at half the price and the same kind of quality. You need to have some kind of angle to be able to sell into. So high-tech products, solar and wind technology, environmental products, perhaps. I know there's a growing awareness and demand there. Road safety as well is another, big area that we've come across specifically, particularly with the advent of autonomous vehicles coming along, self-driving vehicles and so on. So there's some big developments in that. Smart cities, helping congestion. We all know that congestion is a big issue in a lot of, very overcrowded Indian cities. So things that can help with that, I think, are in another area of great potential. Electronics, so sort of high tech, sort of products with quality and technological advancement. Perhaps also companies involved in large scale infrastructure or engineering projects, that kind of thing. But then we go to the other end and, looking at sort of highly desirable consumer goods, fashions and accessory brands to meet that growing demand that we talked about from the growing Indian, middle class area that, has money to spend basically, and has the demand for, for good quality goods.
Could you talk us through some of the success stories you've had with your clients when helping them export to Asia or India?
Yeah, certainly. So again, it pretty much reflects what I've been saying. So it's companies that have got a technological benefit or in one of those sort of kind of specific areas. So for example, we've got a client who manufactures what's called a mobile retroreflectometer. So that measures the reflection of road markings, for example. So from a road safety point of view, making sure drivers can see the lines and measuring those lines is something which is becoming increasingly important. And the Indian government, as well as other countries around Asia, are putting a lot of emphasis on that as a way of improving road safety, because there's obviously a lot of improvements to be made in road safety in a lot of countries that to reduce the number of deaths and so on, and the cost of accidents around the area. Also, we mentioned sort of energy efficiency. We've got a client who supplies solar and wind generation systems for smart cities, for remote locations, for example, for security in remote locations where there might not be any power, or simply for remote villages, for example, for giving them power for lighting or whatever it might be, for internet as well, for running Wi-Fi networks, broadband networks in remote areas, which this company does in Europe as well as in other countries. So outdoor lighting, these kind of things. So yeah, high tech products with a specific niche, but where that type of product maybe isn't readily available at the moment in India itself.
So what, in your view, are the top 5 key parameters a company should take into account when evaluating or entering the Indian market?
I think the first thing we always say to clients is understand your own risk profile, understand what kind of risk you're willing to take and why you want to export. Why do you want to go to any market, but in particular to the Indian market? So understand yourself. That's one of the starting point really for clients is, what's your driver? Okay, everyone says, well, the driver is I want to make more sales, but some people, sometimes it's a vanity project rather than they're really committing to it. So an understanding, the risks involved and what that might mean for the company and the resources you need to allocate to it. The other key parameter is reviewing the market, the review of the market demand for that type of product. Doing a product gap analysis. Is that product adapted to the market? Is it right? Is it what people in India would be looking for? And what changes do you need to, in a simplistic form? You might have a green button to turn it on, whereas the local standard might be red or blue or whatever it might be. Those kind of simple things that you need to look at. But it's a key parameter to make sure your product is suitable for the market. And if it's not, do you have the bandwidth to innovate the product, to change the product to meet the requirements, of any standards or licenses or approvals that are required as well, the resources to allocate to it. And then it's the barriers to entry. That's another key parameter. What are those barriers to entry, and can you overcome them? What do you need to do to overcome those barriers? And is it going to be worthwhile for you at the end of the day? next key parameter I always think is really defining your route to market, how you're going to get into that market and the best way. You know, again, whether it's a distributor or whether it's through having a subsidiary or a JV, but being very clear what it is you're going to do and how long it's going to take, having a real strategic plan with milestones and KPIs along the way. So this is what we do for clients. We give them a three-year plan, for example, with, you know, this is what you need to do by this date, this date, this date. So I think it's important that you know, that clients have those parameters in mind. And the last thing, which I mentioned before, is focusing on the market and being prepared to focus on the market. So I think those are the 5 key areas that we would get clients to look at, you know, when considering going to India or to any other market.
So there's a strong belief that British products are relatively expensive compared to Indian products. And as you know, India is a very price sensitive market. What would you say to British exporters who are apprehensive or reticent given this aspect? What would your advice be to them?
Yeah, my advice is that, I mean, this partly comes into the product adaptation to the market that we talked about. Is the product right for the market in the first place? But then it's about defining the value added for your product. You know, why would anyone pay more for your product compared to a local competitor, for example? What are the benefits of your product? What are you offering that's different? And how can you differentiate that product? What can you offer that competition can't? So you're trying to create a demand for your product, but so it's not treated as a commodity, basically. So it's not just the same as the next product. It's saying there's whatever it is, there's a bit of a desire to have that product because either it's, you know, it's a desirable product if it's a consumer product, or it gives some kind of technological or financial benefit in other ways, cost savings, for example, by having that product. So you're looking for that, let's say, the value added, where we call it, so that you've got something different to offer compared to the local competition. And of course, there's always this combination of, you know, price is never always the determining factor in a buying decision. People are going to look at price, they're going to look at quality, and they're going to look at customer service. And you can offer 2 out of 3 of those, but you can never offer all 3. You can never be the best in price and still offer the best quality and the best customer service. So there's a combination there. And again, that's knowing the market and knowing what's important for the market and demonstrating that. And it's also, of course, selling the expertise of the company and the leadership of the company, if you like, in a particular field, becoming the market or the thought leader in that area. So people, you know, think of the British company in this case as the leader in that field, or, you know, as the technological leader or the quality leader, so that there's an added value that people are willing to pay for that, and that's what you know, we preach again to customers to look at is, don't just sell wherever you're selling, but, you know, particularly in India, don't just sell on price. You're never going to win from that point of view if there's a local competitor. Find your gap, find your niche, find the value added of your product.
And you mentioned when we first spoke that you also work with some Indian companies. So what sort of sectors of the UK market provide an opportunity for Indian firms, for Indian exporters?
Yeah, in fact, I would say that the biggest single country we get inquiries from outside of the UK is from India, for companies there looking to expand. So it's growing as well. I think a lot of Indian companies have been actively looking for new markets recently, particularly with, you know, maybe the drop in demand locally because of COVID, the same as in any country. But it's possibly made people realise that they can't be reliant on one market, and you know, it's pushing people to look at further afield, just the same as UK companies are in reverse. So we get inquiries from a wide range of companies. We do get a lot of outsourcing companies that want to outsource services from the UK to India, particularly high-tech services, engineering services, data services, you know, those kind of areas. I think high-tech is is one area that is obviously a highly educated population that can offer these kind of services at a lower cost than can be had in Europe. So that's definitely an area which we're getting a lot of inquiries and demand for. Engineered products, we've had companies that are doing fixings, doing metal, shop fittings, that kind of thing. So products that can be manufactured on very efficiently in India, and so are very competitively priced by the time when they arrive into the UK market. And of course, there's a lot of inquiries from agricultural products, things like lentils, spices, this kind of thing. There seems to be a lot of people looking to export those kind of products, which bring their own difficulties because of some of the rules and regulations of importing into the UK and into the EU. But certainly there's we're getting a lot of inquiries from those types of companies. Clothing, leather goods, those kind of things as well. So really, but it's really very much across the board. But I think all of those companies that are just those areas I've just mentioned, there is good potential in the UK market for them. There are opportunities, and we've got a lot of experience in introducing Indian companies into the UK and into the European market. I mean, I personally took one Indian company from sort of 0 to 28 million turnover within sort of 4 years, and that was a steel foundry group. So it's possible to break into the market. There's a good a good reputation for if you can get that price quality ratio correct, then there's and supply correct. That's that fear of the distance and the supply. But if you can overcome those kind of things, then there's a good market to be had for Indian companies in the UK and Europe. And that's where a lot of what we do with these companies is help them to find distributors, to find partners, even to find direct customers. So we offer different services to help them do that, to get into the market. So I think there's a lot of opportunities, and I think that's why I was excited to be contacted by you and to be involved in this.
Yes, and as you know, there's been a lot of buzz and talk around bilateral trade, and I think it can only expand and grow in the near future exponentially.
I think so. I think as I said, I think Brexit is going to help push that forward for companies outside, for countries outside Europe, for definite, because UK companies have got nothing to lose now by looking at anywhere around the world.
Thank you, Mike. I think that's been quite insightful, and thank you for coming on the program. And in the future, I'm sure we'll have an opportunity to do an in-depth sectoral analysis or get you involved with a webinar where our viewers can learn more. So thanks again.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you.